coal miner, oil rig worker, pro sports athlete, and software engineer. What do all four of these occupations have in common? If you guessed strenuous manual labor, you'd be correct. See, contrary to popular belief, software engineers have some of the most carpal tunnel injuries per capita due to the heavy workload placed on our small wrists. Moving files, creating new files, deleting files. It all puts a strain on the bones and especially on the mind. The hours of coding and file management can really begin to put a wear on the psyche. I've had many times whereupon I've been in need of some company during trying coding stretches. Today, we fix that. Welcome, investors, to the third Flingboard Capital Incorporated venture project, our very own proprietary AI agent. AI agents have taken the corporate world by storm in recent times. Don't want to do timesheets? AI it. Don't want to fire employees yourself? AI it. Don't want to even speak to your employees face to face? You gotta AI it. They even have AI interviews now, because who can be bothered to make sure the people they are hiring are, well, real people? We here at the Flingboard Investment Fund have been watching closely, and we believe the market conditions are just right for us to plant our stake in the AI agent sphere. If you've seen our previous projects, to calculate or not to calculate, we like to think about AI differently here. We don't want to just create another run-of-the-mill generic agent. Oh no. We're going to create one that can think, process, and truly feel human emotions. It won't just be a helpful agent. In fact, it won't even be helpful. It's a great idea, I know. So you may be wondering, Flingboard, how do you plan to do this? I'm glad you asked, because I wasn't going to ask myself. Whenever a user creates or deletes a file on a certain directory, our agent will be able to see that event. Then, it will prompt the user with a text box where the user will instruct the agent on their intention. If the response is polite, we execute the command. If not, well, then our agent will take control and reverse any changes the user made. This will teach our programmer some manners and truly add that human touch to our agent. Where does one begin with such a project? Well, Java, of course. Why Java? I ask myself that every day. Firstly, we need a way to monitor a directory. Whenever you delete or add files, what is actually happening behind the scenes? Here's a little history lesson with Flingboard. Your computer is really a bunch of light bulbs flicking on and off to create ones and zeros. Bear with me here. The first computers were made using vacuum tubes. Now, everything on Google says that these aren't light bulbs, but look at this thing. You don't gotta be Edison to see that's obviously a light bulb in disguise. A very expensive, very angry, very bad light bulb, sure, but come on. I've seen light bulbs and that's a light bulb. Nowadays, we use high-tech light bulbs called transistors that can literally balance on your pinky finger. They no longer look like light bulbs, but cars no longer look like the Model T either, do they? The point of using such advanced light bulb technology is to output something or nothing, a 1 or a 0. Hundreds of billions of binary operations are performed every second, and every time you delete or create a new file, somewhere in the binary code, something is changing. When you press the delete key on a file or a folder on your pretty graphical user interface, you are really sending a command to a terminal and into the maze that is the binary logic. That means that every time you perform an action on a file, there is somewhere that action can be seen and recorded. Thankfully, because otherwise we would have to do a lot more work, Java provides a class to track these events. Introducing the watch service. Whoa, don't get too excited. I know file management infrastructure is riveting, but stick with me here. Linux and Windows both have tools for file modification notifications. iNotify and read directory changes W respectively. Java implements these both in a cross-compatible manner using watch service. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty about watch service and watch keys, because this would become a cure to insomnia rather than a coding video, but just know that we are catching and logging these events through system-built tools. Using the pull event method of the keys generated by the watch service, we can get event objects that contain the type and location of each file event on the directory. Let's code that now. We now can get a watch event output every time the user deletes or adds a file to the desktop. Awesome sauce. Now, with this watch event, we can start creating the agent itself. To do so, I want to employ a personal favorite of mine. You know it. You love it? Tokenization. If you watched my video instilling a calculator with existential dread, you know my burning passion for basic forms of tokenization. It just so happens that we can once again sail down to the beautiful village of Tokenland and use the concept once more. What is it? What did I say? Our agent will soon be able to take an input from the user, a plea to execute the given command. And to truly ensure that this command is polite, we can analyze certain words. Words like please, thanks, and appreciate are all examples of words that we could see as being used in polite contexts. Words like now, do, and work could all be seen as the user being quite hasty, and we can have the ability to decide if those are not polite enough. By creating a map of keys and values, we can define certain words to create a politeness score of the user's inputs. That's done. Combining our tokenization with Java's process builder, we can use my GUI's message box to both prompt and receive an input from the user. I wanted to take this approach rather than a terminal input to make it seem as if our agent has control over the user's desktop. Our agent can now detect if a user's response is polite or impolite every time said user makes changes to the desktop. However, the user still has the power of deleting or adding files, and our agent can't do much about it. Originally, I wanted to use Java's file lock to solve this. File lock, as the name suggests, obtains a lock on a file. Clever, right? With this file lock, only the Java program itself will be able to make changes to files, meaning that we could hijack the user's inputs in the middle, passing it through our agent before it executed. This would be perfect, but Java's implementation of file lock destroys this approach. File locks created by the file lock class are advisory, not mandatory, meaning that they only function with the respect of other programs. Think of it as a do not disturb sign on an unlocked door. Sure, you could barge in, but that would be awfully rude. Sadly, Linux and my GUI have no social awareness, and using GUI file deletion and addition Kool-Aid Man's through the wall of that unlocked room. So, if a file lock won't work, what will? Well, if we can't prevent the user from deleting the files, why don't we try undoing the user's changes immediately? We know what the user is doing and where, so why don't we just do the opposite? Stay with me here. If the user adds a file called secret.txt, we simply aim to delete a file called secret.txt. If a user removes a file called don'tdelete.txt, we create a file called don'tdelete.txt. It's truly mischievous and ingenious. We can use Java's files interface to do this. Here is a big problem. We've created an infinite loop. There's no two words in the English language worse than infinite loop. When a user deletes a file, we get a watch event. But when our agent adds the file back, we also get a watch event, which triggers our agent to delete the file, causing a watch event, and so on and so on. This is bad. Very, very bad. At first, I did what I thought was a simple solution. If we just wrap the entire watch event logic in a Boolean flag and trigger that Boolean flag per watch event, we can tell when to stop tracking said watch events. The problem with this is that Java's watch service is queued. Pretty much, events are accumulated into the service prior to anything else, and our code lags behind the events being pulled. This means that a Boolean flag, or any normal code to check our agent's commands, would be null and void in the context of our events. To put it in a way that sounds cool and interesting, it's kind of like the events are traveling back in time, which beats our checks before we can even get the chance to run them. Pop quiz, if you had to solve this issue, what class would you use? If you said C, you are way smarter than I am. Concurrency in the context of programming is the kryptonite to queued events like watch service. A concurrent class breaks the time machine and kind of clockwork oranges our watch service. Like the watch service class, it doesn't care when something is run. It is persistent and can be used across any time, even before our events have the chance to beat our checks. Using a concurrent hash map, we can create a set that stores every file location our agent has touched. Then, if we check a watch event that has that file location, we remove it from the set and terminate our tracking logic. This makes it so that every counteraction is only performed once. Let's code that in. Perfect. We now have a politeness checker and ability to prevent user actions upon them being impolite. Now to add the finishing touches. I added a threshold that tracks every time the user has failed a politeness check. Fail too many times, and you may have to start typing essays to get anything done. I also added the ability for the agent to require unique pleadings each time the user wants to execute a command. No more spamming please. You must now think of clever ways to appease our agent. For the live demo, I hand it to the one, the only, me. So if we try to create a new folder, it's going to ask us, and I can ask please. So it should add it, and if we try to delete the folder, we have to ask differently, but if we use please again, it deletes it. And then if we try to create a folder again, but if we use please again, it's not unique, so it doesn't add it. Our agent is now complete. Useful? No. Scalable? Hell no. But patience is a virtue and power is a poison. Our agent will help you realize both. The future is no longer the future. It is the present, and we have brought it here. If you are ready to invest, drop a like and a subscription. Make sure to join me next time where we create lights that can only turn on after a standing ovation from a crowd of 1,000 people.